It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
One just has to pick up a magazine or turn on a television to see that we, as women, are bombarded daily with medium images of female physical perfection, leaving us with the most unrealistic of expectations as to how we should look. No wonder female body confidence is falling, while incidents of eating disorders are on the rise. What's most alarming is the way this affects young girls. A reduced sense of self-worth can create anxiety, stress, even depression, causing relationship issues while potentially impairing academic and job performance. In direct contrast, Confidence in Bloom is designed to send the opposite message to any woman of any age, shape, or background who has ever felt inadequate, unworthy, or tossed aside because of how she looks. You matter. You are enough now. I, Tina Spolatini, a woman of substance, insist women deserve to be happy, confident, successful, and not to mention so totally in love with themselves in their own bodies just the way they are. Through an ongoing series of intriguing conversations with women from all walks of life, who are all extraordinary in their own right, I will take us on a journey of ultimate self-acceptance and empowerment. Together we'll share the stories, laugh, learn, maybe even shed a few tears, even when you realize how far women have come when you realize how far many women have come to realize just how wonderful life is. When you stand in your own power, feeling fantastic in your own skin. Today I'm speaking with Jackie Nagy. Jackie's expertise is working with coaches and holistic entrepreneurs to increase their impact and income so they can enjoy a thriving business doing the work they love. Welcome, Jackie.
Hello. Hi, Tina.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so delighted that we're getting this opportunity to talk about one of my favorite subjects, confidence.
Right? Isn't that the truth? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I am a woman who is absolutely passionate about the work I do, and that is working with entrepreneurs who have, the big dream. Sometimes that's something that has been simmering for quite some time, and they haven't had an opportunity to really step fully into it and it really expand who they are, because they have a big mission to make a positive difference in the world, and they want to do it. And I don't know if the word legacy is not a word I usually use, but right now my mind is failing me. They just really are passionate about wanting to make this world a better place, a more positive, loving, happy place. And I dare to say that they almost believe that's possible. So many people have said to me, Jackie, you're just so Pollyanna. You think that, we can all get along and everything can be loving and happy, and it's not always that way. And so I appreciate that. But that's kind of the woman that I am, and the women, mostly women, some men, that I work with in my business.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. You sound like me. I hate when I hear people fight, or not get along. Their personalities clash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah.
Tell us more about your coaching business.
Yeah, my coaching business, I've been full-time as an entrepreneur since 2008, so celebrating 15 years this year. And I came from the corporate world. For just about 30 years I was working in corporate, and I had this growing sensation, if you will, this feeling of unhappiness, unease, and just feeling more and more demotivated towards my work over the years, and I couldn't quite figure out what it was, because I loved the work that I did. I was primarily in the travel industry, and I absolutely love the work. I love the people. I love serving people, and yet it got harder and harder every day to get out of bed and bring the energy that the job required, as so many people know what I mean, especially in corporate. Very much, if I dare to say, still a lot of a man's world with a lot of male energy. And I do talk about the feminine energy and masculine energy a lot. And but I didn't know at the time. You know, we're going back quite a few years, obviously, before these kind of concepts, if you will, were even on the radar. We weren't really even talking about this kind of energy. Even the word energy, we'd be thinking about electricity, right? And
sure.
So I hit a wall, spiritually, physically, emotionally. My whole system really shut down. My body, mind, shut down, and I quit. I left corporate, and I took a couple of years to recover, and, it's a whole different story, but it took quite a lot of work, and I say work with all loving respect, but it is a job to take care of ourselves. I was listening to one of your podcasts on self-care. It's a job. So I wasn't doing that job, for those couple of decades, and so I did that for a few years, and then I kind of tapped in after, when I was feeling better, to what is it that I want to be and do for the rest of my life. I was closing in on 50, and I really dug deep on what do I love doing, and I would love teaching. I coached a large sales team, and people would say to me, "You're such a great coach." And so that work kept coming up as well. And I thought, well, what if I was, coaching people and teaching them what I've learned? And I wanted to do that as an entrepreneur. I had that entrepreneurial spirit from a very young age. And so, I entered into the field of neuro-linguistic programming, also known as NLP. And that was the, I guess you could say, the bridge. That was the foundation of my business, was using these amazing tools. And the field of NLP is vast, so it's very, very applicable to both business, in personal life, relationships, and also self, and working on oneself. And that was really a big piece of my recovery, so I found the tools there, and that's what really launched my business.
Well, that's super cool. And how did you come across it during your healing process? Did you hire a coach that helped you with that?
How did I come across NLP was an interesting story. I'm glad you asked. I was working for an international company whose head office was in England, and we went to a conference. And one of the half-day workshops that you could select, you can pick one of these activities, was this thing called neuro-linguistic programming. And I thought, well, I don't even know what that is. However, I'm intrigued by the name of it. I always am fascinated with brains and neurology. And so I just signed up. And it was absolutely life-changing, because it opened up something in me that was very it was like I was seeking the how-to tools for life, and that's what I learned, like just a snippet, the just the tip of the iceberg, and I actually used the skills that I learned in that half-day workshop to teach my team. I was coaching a team of 100 salespeople, and our sales that year hit a double-digit percentage increase over the year before. So it was like evidence, oh my gosh, this stuff works. But it wasn't really, it was easy. But, not having the tools, I was floundering for so many years, looking at people that were really successful in my workplace and wondering, what is it that they're doing that I could model, that I could reach the kind of success that they have, and I couldn't figure it out. So NLP was like what I had been looking for, but I didn't know it was that. And it just really blew my mind. And it took me another, I think, 8 years or so before I started my business. So I was still working and still applying the skills I had learned and still studying. And, you know, and when I then was looking for, okay, what am I going to do now that I'm starting my business? I went online and I looked up neuro-linguistic programming, and I chose an academy in England and really, really dedicated myself for a number, like 10 years of deep diving into the field and learning it. It's that vast, so it never leaves me bored or looking for something else. I'm really fully embodied into all the field of NLP. And people coming on the training say the same thing. They can't believe how vast, how deep the field goes. The applications for it just go into, now we're using the skills in health and recovery from, you know, illness and preventing illness, and that's another area that I'm now looking into more of as I'm reaching a new stage in my life, and health is becoming like the number one thing next to confidence, right? That's what we're talking about today, having that true confidence together with being healthy and having the energy to do the things that we love in life. I mean, I think that kind of encapsulates it for me.
I love that. So how does NLP work? Is it like hypnotherapy?
Well, hypnotherapy is a branch of NLP, because one of the core foundational underpinnings of the field of NLP came from Milton Erickson, a renowned clinical hypnotist. He was a psychiatrist, and he worked with people using hypnosis, and, you know, the hypnotherapy really is kind of similar, and he developed really the field that we have today of professional hypnotherapy. His writings, his work, therapeutic work, created that foundation. So it is an aspect, one of the, if you want to say, like categories, if that's the word, of the field of NLP is hypnotherapy. So it's really, really working deep with the unconscious mind. And, you know, I really want to introduce some of the models that I've been personally testing myself about how to incorporate working with the unconscious, as we cannot be fully confident unless we have this deep connection with our true self, which is kind of another way of saying our authentic self, which is really the part of us that, you know, is the unconscious, that has all the wisdom and all the knowledge and all of the experience and the you know, the life story that supports us. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, like shutting down the ego. I mean, obviously we have an ego that cannot be shut down, but it's basically making like the self and ego friends.
Yeah, I would say the ego is really that conscious part of us, that the voice in the head, you know, the critical voice, the voice that is seeking to satisfy something that actually isn't in alignment with who we truly are. But there's reasons for that voice, right? There's history, there's belief systems, there's values, and not all of those beliefs and values are supporting us if they were formed at a time of life where maybe they were maybe they were suitable or working for us, but as we age and as we move through life, we need to update those, right? But if that old voice is still there, that ego is still kind of there wanting to get what it wants to satisfy its original intention, it's going to interfere with us. So absolutely. And the resource to make that happen comes from the unconscious. You know, the wiser part of ourselves that has sort of the bigger picture in mind and can really tap into our heart and our intention And our ecology, our desire for ecology, that's a thing that I find is so, so important, that when we're deciding on what we want to do in our life or our business, it's important to check in with the ecology. Is what I'm doing good for me and for others? And I have found that if that balance, I don't want to use the word balance, if that harmony of it's good for me, it's good for you, it's good for others, is not part of our goals and our outcomes and our intentions, we're gonna self-sabotage ourselves, right? So there's such an intertwining of this, who we are as a person. There's not one thing that is really, okay, let's work on that, now we're good to go, right? There's just so many different aspects, and that's a beautiful way of looking at who we are as complex beings. We could certainly never get bored. If something isn't working, we can find another tool in our toolbox, right?
Yeah, isn't that the truth? So do you have other modalities that you use, or do you strictly stick with NLP?
Oh, I love that question. I'm also, I was very fortunate to be introduced to an amazing woman. I'll mention her name, Rachel Jane Groover, and she developed the art of feminine presence. And so I took her training, I guess it'd be about 9 years ago. Absolutely fell in love with her meditations and her practices, became a teacher, incorporated that into my own being, my own self, and who I wanted to be as a woman, in particular being a strong, feminine woman. And it so supported me. And so I do teach some of the classes, but primarily I weave her lessons and her practices and her concepts into the work I do in either coaching or training with NLP. But those two modalities are really my focus. I do some hypnotherapy, but again, it's woven within the other NLP work that I do.
Right. And so what is the main outcome that you search for when you're working with your clients? Is it like business
the main
growth,
outcome,
or would you say it's like a confidence thing?
Well, they're intertwined, right? When I do get a client who comes to me for business coaching, my clients are primarily entrepreneurs, which is great because that's, my journey in the last 15 years. And what I've discovered over the years, and I discovered this first for myself, is that having unwavering confidence, being able to show up in any situation in a way that I feel that I can tap into all the skills that I have, and to be able to show up and be in flow and to be present and to be able to communicate well, was based upon how confident I was. But it's not, and so anyway, before I dive into another thought here, so when someone comes to me for business coaching for their entrepreneurial ventures, I direct the person into where are they on their journey of being truly confident in what it is they want to be doing. And the confidence really doesn't stand alone. It really is supported by congruence and competence. So we're diving into what is it they want to do, which is something that they may come up with, but also maybe something external that they're seeing other entrepreneurs doing, and they think, oh, I really must be doing that because my peers are doing it, or that's what the marketplace is wanting me to do. And we want to tap into that whole aspect of, yes, and what is it that you feel confident about doing when it comes to that? And where are the gaps? Is it a gap in knowledge? Is it a gap in competence and in learning something, the skills of that? Or is it a gap in congruence? How in alignment are you with that thing that you want to be doing? Is that in alignment with your values? Is that in alignment with your beliefs? Is that in alignment with the woman that you want to be and present to the world? And so that discussion weaves throughout the coaching. So yes, we might be putting a plan in for marketing or for developing a webinar or doing a funnel, to guide people through, to enter into a conversation with them. But at the end of the day, if they're not feeling congruent about it, if they haven't got the competence to do that thing, and they therefore don't have the confidence, we're going to go back to the drawing board, right? Because I don't want to push my clients into a space that doesn't meet those criteria.
So you're not necessarily like, it's about the owner. It's about the person sitting in front of you. It's not about the business.
I love that.
I love that. Yeah,
I
that's
love
great.
that.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, how do we embody an unwavering confidence that will always be there?
Right. Okay, I love this question. It sounds, I think, undoable, the title of that, right? Or this concept of unwavering confidence. But here's the way that it's worked for me, is I don't step into doing anything unless I have fulfilled those three criteria. Am I competent to do this thing that I want to be doing? Yes or no? And if I'm not, where can I get the skills? Who can teach me? Is it maybe going back to, a lot of people have a lot of training that they forget about, So they've learned how to do something, but only at a really high level, only like a logical level. They haven't really embodied the skills to be, for example, if what it is they want to be doing is to run a campaign and drive people through a funnel so they can have a sales conversation, right? Well, people, and I've seen this so many times, will follow the bouncing ball and they'll put the things in place, which there's a lot of different things that need to happen. There's a lot of writing of copy. There's a lot of, putting oneself out on social media on videos. And there's so many things that we do to guide our, clients through a funnel. But at the end of the day, if that person hasn't got the competence through experience and practice to do the actual sales call, they'll hit a brick wall. They will generally not be able to get past that. They'll try to force themselves to, and they will get on a few calls and, of course, typically not make a sale, and then not feel good about themselves and think that, that's where the vulnerability comes up, and that's where the self-sabotage comes up. Oh, I'm not good enough. I don't, I'm not worthy of this, and all that inner dialogue can pop up. But really, at the end of the day, it's often a case of they haven't yet developed the skills to handle that end point, the sales conversation. Having a sales conversation is an art. Just like doing anything, it requires practice. So confidence can't be bought. Confidence can't be faked. Confidence is earned. It's earned through practice, developing the skill, so that it gets into the bones. It becomes who we are. Having a sales conversation, guiding a client through a loving conversation about what their needs and their wants are, their problems and their symptoms, and deciding, is this a good match? That takes art. There's a lot of touch points in that. So that's one thing. The second is, if that, again, working with my clients, if I pick up through calibrating, and calibrating is a real core skill of NLP. A lot of your listeners will know what I'm talking about. Some people call it a sense or an intuition when they're talking, say, to their to their clients. So let's say I'm talking to one of my clients, and we're discussing this, marketing plan that they have, and we're getting to the point where the end step is a sales conversation. And I know that they're pretty good at sales. I've seen that they've been in business for more than 5 years, because that's evidence that they're going to continue another 5. And yet I sense some waffling, some tension in their body. They haven't been able to really articulate themselves. They're struggling. I'll touch in on, okay, is this perhaps an incongruency? Right? And what I mean by that is they're not feeling in alignment within themselves, within their own inner self, that what they're selling isn't maybe good enough. Maybe they haven't tested what they're selling. A lot of people put a program together or coaching, training, or something together, and they're just trying to sell it without having tested it, without doing like a beta test, for example. So that might be a question. I say, well, how much evidence do you have of success when delivering this thing you're selling? And they'll say, well, it's brand new. I've never done it before. Okay, we've got to go back to the beginning again. We're not going to do a funnel. We're not going to help them with their marketing until they've done a beta test on whatever they're selling, to ensure that they know that what they're offering their clients is of the highest quality that they expect. Everyone's depending on what they're selling, right? If it's an intro, no matter what you do, I come from a place of let's seek excellence, and so I tend to work with people that are seeking that as well. There's varying levels of that. So we're always going to be attentive to that, of course. So it's either competence or congruence that I'm seeking when I'm coaching my clients. And when we have those, we've got them, yes, I know what I'm doing is great. I've delivered it 2, 3, 4 times. I've gotten great results. I have testimonials. Okay, great. And then I know how to do that sales conversation. I feel very comfortable in selling what I'm selling. I love what I'm doing, and I know for me it's worked really well. Great, then we're going to carry on. But until those things are satisfied, in my experience, we're going to hit a brick wall.
So you have to feel that your client feels 100% confident. And once that happens, I would imagine the rest comes super, super easy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a sense of, what's the word? Not motivation, momentum that happens when things are in alignment. I know what I'm doing. I can do it really well. I'm feeling great about the outcome. I can deliver on the promises I'm making. That's a big one as well. And I'm not faking it, right? This is true confidence. So one of the things I like to teach my clients are the 4 stages of competence, which really, really supports them. And many of your listeners will be aware of this as well. It's often referred to as the 4 stages of learning. So there's unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. And people love that, because we can go through a journey of whatever it is they're doing and look, okay, where are we right now on this path? And I want to get my clients to a place where whatever they're delivering, whether it's coaching, training, facilitating, I work with a lot of people that do one-on-one work with clients in group as well. They could be often healers, so they often do one-on-one deep work. Are they at the stage of unconscious competence, the highest level of competence? Or are they still at the stage of conscious competence, where they're still kind of aware that they're competent, but it hasn't really sunk in to a place where they can trust that when they show up with their clients, that wisdom, that knowledge, that ability and skill will present itself naturally, right? Just the way we drive a car. We don't think about, do I know how to drive a car? When we started, we had to sort of stop and think and ask ourselves. Now we just go and we do it, right? And in Canada, you also have a deep sense that we know how to drive on ice and snow without having to question it. But, 50 years ago, I had to ask myself, it's kind of icy and snowy out there. Should I go out? I don't know if I can handle it. So that's really what we're seeking when it comes to writing marketing copy for their campaigns and for whether doing blogs or whatever, doing a video. Where are they on that, on the stages of competence? A lot of entrepreneurs are just starting. Let's say so video is such a important part of the marketing in so many areas. And a lot of entrepreneurs are still in the conscious incompetence or conscious competent a little still, and so we want to always ensure that I'd like to get my clients to a place where they feel confident, that they have some competence enough to go forward. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's enough that they're not feeling these deep emotions, which can be mislabeled, I believe. Truly, there's a lot of the when people have inner dialogue of, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not worthy enough. I believe a lot of that scripting may come from voices from our early life, but I think it's driven by the feelings that we have inside when we're not feeling confident. And it's about, okay, let's take a step back. Let's look and just, dive in and look at where are the gaps. And in these two areas really are the most powerful ones that I've discovered.
That sounds so amazing. So what came to my mind is if we were to sit down, say a classroom full of young university students and teach them what you teach your clients, what do you think the outcome would be in, say, a future 15 or 20 years when these young people are now in their early to late 40s? Do you think that they would still have the confidence that they had back in their early 20s that you taught them, or do you think it would still go back and they would hit their 40s and have to kind of go through that training again?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. Oh, well, here's what I'm thinking. University students, college students, young people who are just on the precipice, starting their, lives, leaving the university setting or learning setting. I believe there's a lot of uncertainty. They haven't got the life experience that a 40-year-old or a 50 or 60-year-old has to be able to go, okay, looking back on my experience from the past, I can make a good judgment about whether what I want to do is in alignment with who I am or, is something that will allow me to really show my true talents. They don't know that yet. They haven't tested anything yet, right? So I think it's absolutely critical that they learn these skills the earliest people can learn these skills, oh my gosh, it's such a gift to be able to ask themselves the questions, the coaching questions. And people can do this by themselves. I mean, it's nice to do it with a coach because you get to really fully sink into the questions without, you can get out of your head a little easier. And it's really important that people get out of their heads and touch into their body's sensations when they're asking these really important questions in life and ask themselves, what do I want? Right? What do I want? Right? And asking themselves the questions over and over again. And maybe they'll come up with several things. And it may not be the thing that they've gone to university for. It may not be the thing that maybe their parents expected of them. And that's a difficult time for a young person to have to break away from expectations and from possibly disappointment, because if they really touched into their true self and asked that question, oh my gosh, for them to have the opportunity to make those adjustments early in life instead of when they're 40, can you imagine how happy?
Well, that's
how much happier people would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's why I'm thinking, because like when our kids were, finishing high school, we said to them, we don't care what you do. Obviously it has to be legal and moral, right? But it has to be something you're, excuse me, you are going to get like a good feeling from. We want you to be happy. That's our main goal for our kids. And so we didn't care. We said, whatever you want to do, we will support, but you got to go to school. You have to do something that can provide a future for you, right? And I'm just wondering, if that's kind of the same idea of what this, obviously there's more to the NLP than finding a career, right? It's basically how your mind works. But, I'm just, when you were talking earlier, and I'm thinking, all these kids that are in university that really don't know if they're doing the right thing for themselves, if we could teach them now, what would our future years look like?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, especially that ecology question. It really, the universe, if you look up ecology in nature, it's, you look at a forest, there's ecology in a forest. If you look at the ocean, there's ecology in the ocean. Things that work the way they're designed in harmony with their environment. That is the way we're designed as beings. And humans are beings, just the way fish are, and trees. We're all part of a bigger environment. And so asking the question, what do I really want to do? And that question, by the way, ties very closely in to one's values. So a values assessment is very, very important. And not a left brain necessarily values. We really dive deep when we're doing this work in NLP to touch into does the body support that value as well? That's the congruency piece. And then, is what I want to be doing in my life congruent with others, with my family, with my friends that I currently have, and with the people that I love, and my community, and the world, right? And when those things align, when what we want to do individually align with others in our life, and the world and as a whole, magic really happens. The universe lines up to support us in achieving that in a magical way.
I love that. Okay, so tell me this. Excuse me, I don't know why I've got a frog in my throat right now. You may have answered this question already, but I want to know, is there one myth that blocks our ability to be authentically confident?
Yes. I have mentioned a few, but I would say the one myth that has been floating around for quite a while is the statement, fake it till you make it.
Okay, explain that.
The notion that, and I'm guilty of even using that phrase, a mantra, if you will. I took some training back in the late 80s and 90s, and that was the saying that was floating around, fake it till you make it, fake it. And incorporated was like, yes, we can do it. It was a sense of forcing oneself. And I'll say that the energy behind that is a very masculine energy. And by the way, I don't want to say that men are the only ones that have masculine energy and women are the only ones with feminine energy. All humans have both these different types of energy. But it's a very pushing forward, forcing oneself, pushing and going beyond what we think is capable, what we think, that over time not only wears us out physically and hormonally, like we all have learned so much about cortisol and what that does, stress, because that creates a lot of stress. And one of the reasons is that if we're trying to fake doing something or being someone that we're not in alignment with, our unconscious, that part, our true self is going to say, no, I'm not going to support you. I'm not going to give you the skills that you need to perform when it comes time for you to, show up and demonstrate you can do this thing that you're faking. I'm not going to support you because I'm the one protecting you from, from being fake, really. Who wants to be fake? We're all seeking authenticity. We want to be true to ourselves. The key to loving ourselves is being true to who we are and who we want, and stepping into that person we want to be, our best self. And so that statement goes so against being truly confident. Confidence, like I said early, how we get confident is that we earn it. We work at doing the thing we love doing really, really well over and over and over again. Of course, we give ourselves feedback. Maybe we get a coach that gives us feedback, or a friend or a loved one or a partner. Always seeking feedback is so, so important to reaching that level of mastery. And then once we master that, it's then allowing ourselves to trust our we use the word unconscious in the field of NLP, the part of us that has now that skill embodied in our being. Just like I said earlier, driving a car, it's in our bones. It's in our muscle. Our muscle memory knows how to get in the car and how to accelerate. We don't have to think about, now I want to speed up, I better push my foot down. Our muscles will automatically do it. It's the same with doing whatever else we want to do in life. So it's at that stage of unconscious competence that we now step into a place of trust. Right? And think about this. I coach a lot of speakers. Many, and people who've never done any public speaking to people that have done dozens and dozens in front of thousands. Every speaker, every performer will always have some jitters, have some butterflies before they get on stage, which is actually great because that is a sign that our body's hormones are kicking in, like adrenaline is kicking in so that we can be energized on stage and really project our voice and show emotion. That's good, right? And a lot of speakers that I work with will think that those jitters, those butterflies, are not good. And no. They're not a sign that you don't know how to do this at all. You know it. So it's trusting they've got the skills to get on the stage, deliver the talk they want to talk, and because they have practiced it. So we do a lot of practice run-throughs. Public speakers, the really good ones, you don't see what happens behind the scenes, but they have practiced for hours and hours and hours. And then when they get on stage, there's a little bit of that feeling in their belly, the little butterflies, and that is what they tap into to deliver an amazing presentation to the audience, where they can really look in the eyes of the audience and connect, and they forget about their talk. It just comes out naturally. It's such a beautiful way of performing, and I believe that we can perform that way in every scenario, every context, whether it's having a conversation with our loved ones, whether it's speaking with our children on really delicate, challenging conversations. You know, my son is now in his 40s, and so the conversations I'm having with him now are much more adult-to-adult conversations. And so, you know, I need to tap into the adult part of me, not the mom. When I'm having conversations with him, I need to be intentional about who I show up, you know. And so having that moment, that pause, you know, to taking a breath and just trusting that we know what to do, we've done the work to practice it, it's there, and allowing it to flow. And, of course, developing the skill to do any minor, micro, little modifications. You'll see this in sometimes if you watch TED Talks. Many of them are just perfectly scripted and choreographed. However, you'll notice on some of the speakers there'll be a pause where you get a sense they were going to say something and something else comes out of their mouth. That's their moment where they checked in and they maybe did a little adjustment to what they're going to say next. And also in coaching conversations, that a coach develops that skill to a level of mastery so that they don't get caught in a pattern of just repeating a script to their clients. Their clients, it doesn't feel authentic. And so the ability to be able to flow and respond to a client's questions and their client's story and where a client is going in in what they're sharing, that kind of ability takes that flexibility, you know, an optimal state of flexibility in how we show up in our state is absolutely key to being truly confident. And that, you know, the neat thing about this is it can be practiced in other contexts. So I talk to a lot of my clients about doing things like any kind of activity. It could be even cooking. I use a lot of cooking examples in my coaching, in how when you're cooking a meal that you've cooked many times before, do you automatically go and pull the recipe out of the cupboard, or do you trust that you know how to do it and give it a try and see what happens as you go? So giving little examples, little tasks for people to experience this sense of flexibility in how we're performing will show up, because it has a tendency to generalize. So in their business, they'll be able to tap into that sense of flexibility and being able to just trust that they know what to do.
Right. I love this. This has been like, you have given so much great advice without giving advice. Like your knowledge that you're sharing with us today is amazing. You know, I mean, I know myself, I got little tidbits of advice that I know I can put into my everyday life. And I'm sure our listeners feel the same. If you could give, you know, one piece of it, I don't want to say advice. Let's say if someone was looking to grow their confidence, what is one thing you would tell them to look for inside? Or, let us know that.
Yeah.
What's one thing we can do?
Yeah, I love this question. So here's one thing that people can do at the end of the day. Give yourself 5 minutes even. If you have longer, take it, you know, to reflect on the day and ask yourself, what did I do well today? That's the question. What did I do well today? And a lot of people love journaling. I was not a journaler. I don't know why, but I started journaling. Oh my gosh, the power of journaling is so beautiful. So if people like to, they can journal. And if they are just laying in bed and remembering, I haven't asked my question, they could do it when they're laying in bed and not even write it down. It's okay, as long as it's done. What did I do well today? Right? The second question, if they want to take it one step further, is what could I do to give myself a stretch? In other words, what would I like to be or do that's even, I don't know, a higher quality, or if I could do what I did well today even better, right? What could I do? And then ask their inner guide, their unconscious, to allow those resources that are there, typically stored within them, to generate during sleep. So just ask the question, take a few notes. Oh, I made a call to a friend today, and I was very good. I listened. I didn't offer advice. I just listened, and I supported them, and I wished them well, and I invited them out to a walk. Okay? So it could be something really beautiful around a relationship with a friendship. It could be something around the business. I completed these important tasks on my to-do list today. Yes, wow. So whatever it was that they did well. And then again, asking the question, and I want to stop here because one of the things I have noticed about myself, stop and celebrate that. Even if it's just like a closing one's eyes, touching, hand on heart, appreciating oneself. And just no words are even necessary, by the way. Just no words. Just connecting with oneself, appreciating that wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah. Celebrating, the good in every day is super, super important. Well, I want to say thank you, Jackie, for all of the sharing that you've done with us today. We have learned lots from you, and I know that we could learn a whole lot more because you have a ton of knowledge in your brain. And I love it. I love how you're so willing to share it, and you do it so elegantly, and I love that. I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Tina. It has been my absolute pleasure. I really love what you're offering the audience that are listening, and I really look forward to staying connected.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just maybe give us your website or one way that we can connect with you.
Oh, yes. If people would like to connect with me one-on-one privately, they can email me. It's jnagy@holisticdirections.com. So that's JNAGY at HOLISTIC directions, the word directions.com. Or go to the website, holisticdirections.com. There's a lovely NLP guide, if people would like that as well, as a little free gift. And, but I'd love for people to email me directly and start a conversation.
I love that. Thank you so much. Confidence in Bloom is a celebration of self-love, a confirmation that you're an amazing, desirable, brilliant, gorgeous, talented woman, even though you may not look like a screen star or a supermodel. The truth is, they don't even look like that. We offer unconditional love to our partners, our children, our extended family, even our pets. It's high time we got out of our own way and learned to unconditionally love ourselves. Chic definitely does come in every shape, so if you want something to believe in, start with yourself. If you'd like to be a guest here on Confidence in Bloom and chat with me, contact me through Instagram at infobloomstyling or by email at tina@infobloomstyling.com or through the Divas That Care website.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.